It is 7 o'clock on Thursday, July 14th. This is the July City Council meeting for the City of Alburnett here at City Hall. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. So first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please rise, we have our flag on the wall. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move on to a roll call. Clerk.
Councilman Joe? Trump?
Present.
Councilman Bozrey?
Here.
Mayor? Sorry.
Skip me. I don't know.
Okay. Councilman Shantz? Here. We recognize that West is out. And Councilman Myers?
Yes.
Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum to conduct business tonight. All right. Approval of the agenda. We do have some amendments to the agenda that was previously posted. These were oversights on my part, so I apologize. So we will be adding, after council reports, we will have to discuss a resolution to appoint our city clerk. You have the updated agenda. I have both of them with me. So the one in front of you is current. So item number 10 on the agenda in front of you has been added. It's to discuss resolution 2022-06, appoint city clerk for Shelby. We have also added under new business, item B, the ACDC special event request for September 18th. It was in your packet. We forgot to put it on the agenda. Likewise, under new business, item H, Blinn County ARPA funding request for the City Hall project due July 15th. Again, was in your packet. We've just neglected to put it on the agenda. And then just a small wording change on old business, item C, to correct it from, it did say water rate increase second reading. We just made put more specifics, second reading of ordinance 2022-1, amendment to water rate chapter 65632. So those are the changes to the agenda. I would seek a motion to approve with the amendments as stated. Motion by Bosenberg. Second by Shantz. Any further discussion on the agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Sheriff's report. We do have the written report in our packet, and we'll recognize the deputy should they come. They haven't been at the last few, which is understandable. It does show for the month of July, which are the dates of June 9th through today, July 14th. They did meet their required hours of 43 hours. It looks like there were 14 calls for service. So if you have any questions, concerns, we can bring those to the clerk and get a hold of our contact at the sheriff's office. Any questions before we move past that? And again, if the deputy arrives, we'll recognize them. Item number 6, public hearing was left as a placeholder, so we can skip that, as is number 7, we'll skip that, which puts us to the mayor's report. I have just a few items for this evening. First and foremost, I would like to welcome Chris Shelby officially on board. We're happy you're here, so let's meet with and just a formal public thank you to everyone that's helped with onboarding. Guy, I know we've put a lot of time in, as well as we've had friends from Walker and Centerpoint, so I'd just like to thank them for all of their help in getting Chris up and running, though I know it's going to take a while, and that's okay. next thing I had, I just want to recognize anyone who was involved in the car show. It was a huge success. It's one of my favorite events. So we have several folks here tonight. So Fullers, thank you so much. I know it's a labor of love, as well as our fire department and members of ACDC. We all put in a lot of hard work. It's a beautiful day, and we appreciate it. A reminder that this Sunday is our July Farmers Market at ACDC from 11 to 2. So come on out, and here they have, last I heard, 12 vendors ready to go on Sundays. Again, weather looks beautiful. Last month I left a reminder about golf carts. I just want to say it one more time. Drivers must be of driving age, have a valid driver's license. Please stay off the main routes, which would be Roosevelt and Main Street, not be out after dark, those types of things. We still do seem to be having some problems with that, those three things in particular. You'll notice there is something in the Clerks Report about golf carts that we're exploring some options and possible changes to help alleviate some of these issues. So I've seen quite a few on Roosevelt and Main backing up traffic, and we don't want that. There are enough places in town you can get to taking the side streets. So final reminder that please check the golf cart ordinance if you are a golf cart owner. And finally for me, I had the opportunity to meet with Andy Whiting. He's a representative with, he's with Representative Ashley Hinson's office. Very pleasant, enjoyed our conversation. Learned a lot about what their office can help with as far as interfacing with our federal government, and it was quite interesting, even to the point where they will get down and help. If an individual is having issues with their federal tax return, they are a resource for that as well. So just if anybody has any questions, I'm going to kind of talk through what him and I met about, but he is local, so he's stationed in the Cedar Rapids office, and he's just a pleasant guy, and I learned a lot. So, one thing for us to keep in mind, if there are, and as well as our fire department, if there are any federal grants that we are applying for, that office can write a letter of support. So if we do have anything coming up federally, we've got them in our corner. So this is all good information. That is it for my mayor's report. We'll move on to council reports, and I'll start to my left with Councilor Myers.
Nothing, sir.
Councilor Shantz. Councilor Rosenberg. Councilor Trump.
Nothing.
Alright. That brings us to item number 10, which is to discuss the resolution 2022-06, appoint city clerk for Shelby. I apologize, you do not have one in your packet, so I will go ahead and read this out loud. So this is the resolution appointing the city clerk and treasurer, whereas the Alburnett City Code 2-9-10 gives the city council the authority to appoint a city clerk treasurer, and whereas the city council has interviewed and selected a candidate to fulfill the duties of city clerk treasurer, and whereas the city clerk treasurer is hereby appointed to fill the vacancy of the previous city clerk treasurer, and whereas the appointed city clerk treasurer's hiring date was June 10th, 2022, now therefore it be resolved by the city council that Christopher Shelby is appointed as city clerk treasurer effective July 14th, 2022. Any questions on that? Perfect. I would seek a motion to approve the resolution appointing Chris Shelby as our city clerk.
So moved.
Moved by Shantz. Second by Myers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, and with that, we will move straight into the oath of office, or the swearing in of our new clerk. So I will ask Chris to come forward for me. All right, we didn't practice this. We'll see how it goes. All right. I, Christopher Michael Shelby,
I, Christopher Michael Shelby,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all of the duties of the office of city clerk,
discharge all of the
duties of
duties of
the office of the city clerk in the city of Alburnett,
in the city of Alburnett,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter is required by law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No turning back now. Alright, and with that, we move into citizen comments. So we have two types of comments in the city of Alburnett, those for agenda-related items and non-agenda-related items. I ask that you clearly state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes. If you are on the agenda, this is not the time to speak. We'll get to your agenda item. So right now, I will open it up for any agenda-related comments.
Agenda related, but I'm gonna tag on your golf cart issue. I think we need to tag those, the mopeds or the scooters as well. A lot of youngsters are riding around, which I get that, I was one of those youngsters once. But, we've had an issue down here at the main street, traffic light. They want to get pulled back this summer. Everybody watch out for that. By the way, I can't ride. So, that's just one thing, shows concern. I actually had to help stop a car one day because they just come around the corner and stop. So, there's about, half a dozen or so running around, which they're having fun, but just something to keep an eye out for.
I appreciate that. I'll look into it. Last I know, so those are actual licensed vehicles.
Yes,
So
they are.
that's more of a DOT sheriff's concern, but we'll definitely make sure that it makes it to
Maybe
the sheriff
pass on
and
to
find
the
out if
sheriff
there's
or
anything we can do to limit.
Just
I don't think there is since they are licensed, but
no, just a concern.
I hear that. We will make sure that our sheriff friends are aware and kind of keep an eye out for it too, because I see what you've seen, and
I'm sure.
it is all hours of the day. It's not certain times, so, and night, yes.
Yep.
So, appreciate that.
I'm gonna tag on to that because they tear up the AC ball diamond too.
Oh.
They just go out there quite often when it's muddy and turf the field for it.
Just
That
something
needs
for
to be concerned too.
the
Make sure
county
they're-
to order. I
Driving through there, yep. Appreciate it. I'm actually gonna make it.
You guys should invest in cameras.
said I was probably one of those kids back in the day too.
Any other comments on agenda-related items? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to non-agenda-related items. Yes.
Hi, I'm Cindy Golding, and I'm running for the State House. Address 7,000 Tower Terrace Road, Cedar Rapids. I have spent a lot of time in Alburnett. 4 of my kids graduated from Alburnett High School. I was a coach here. But it's been a lot of years since I've been here because my youngest graduated in Alburnett 2004. So it's been quite a few years, but one of the things that I really appreciate when I come here is to see the improvements. I was a charter member starting the Alburnett Foundation, and seeing the new fields and the things that have happened are really, it's really exciting. And the auto show was fun. I was there with my Tesla. So anyway, I am running for the State House, and one of the reasons I am, this is who I am, and you can just kind of know me. I have been a long-time defender of small towns in rural Iowa. I've been a citizen activist for years, defending things like the 2080 agreements that maybe sometimes are not respected by our big neighbor to the south. You know, if you guys think Alburnett has a 2080 agreement on your 2-mile radius,
Yes.
there have been towns that didn't, and 20 years ago we took it all the way to the Supreme Court and won about the rules within those 2080 agreements and how they had to be acknowledged and followed. Right now, the county isn't adhering to it around Halo. So there are some things that we need a strong voice in Des Moines. There's a lot of issues. I don't know if any of you guys are aware of, about 2004, there was an initiative to save money, to do city-county government, to do away with all the small towns. That they were going to do away with all, the only governance we would have in Linn County would be one governing agent. And we put together a citizens group to fight that, and obviously it was defeated because we still have our small towns. And in my district, in District 83, there are 11 small towns. So I am going to every city council, finding out what are the issues. Each town has unique issues, but there are a lot of common issues among the small communities within the county. So I'm going to every city council and, understanding what the current issues are. So please contact me if there's something I can do, even if not being in Des Moines. I have been a citizen activist for 40 years and know how you can put together coalitions to get things done.
Thank you. Wonderful. Any other comments on non-agenda related items? Yes.
Chris, you look great tonight.
Hey, Nancy, you look awesome.
We're
today.
not all gonna be able to live up to what you got going on. Nancy Fuller, business address 107 North Main, Alburnett, Iowa. How many people here know Larry Lebeda? How many have known Larry Lebeda over 10 years? My husband Al and I went over there. Actually, let me back up a minute. I've known him since I was old enough to know anybody. Went to church with him. He was a teacher at my school, which is right here in Alburnett. He taught, oh my kids. You guys, your kids, yeah, okay. He was on the city council for at least 20 years. And Al and I went over there the other day and we took down part of an apple tree that had fallen in his yard. And as we're walking around his yard, by the way, he lives on your way to North Burnett Station Road. If you take your last right going out of town and you follow it to the left, it's the middle house out of the three. It's the one that has all the apple trees on it, and it has grapevines, and it has a garden, and it is a very working yard and very, very well kept and good looking, and always has been. They put a lot of time into their yard. And so when we're there and we're walking around, we notice that the ditch is corroded, erosion, and he cannot take care of his ditch. And I don't know who takes care of all this, I don't know. But this was just last week, and so I had to come and I had to approach this issue. So to see how it needs to be taken care of, because he has a great looking yard, and he cannot mow this part. There's so many bumps in it, and there's dirt showing everywhere, and I just need to express this.
It used to drain until the city done something, you missed that part of it.
Okay, yeah, something had to be done about the drainage. I don't know what, but, so they did something to try to fix the drain problem, and there was still water puddled up, right? But I don't know what it looked like before. It could have been really bad before. But my concern is that it does not look great. And I know that you guys want our town to look great, because I remember, hey, to get that little car out of there, you get so many warnings, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, because you want our town to look good. And he really is a pillar to our community, and he is great. And I just felt so bad when I seen this, and I think that, if it's our tax money or whatever that goes to it, I don't know what it is, but if we could do something to fix his ditch.
He said he used to be able to mow it himself until the city done something to that ditch, and now he has to hire somebody to mow it because he can no longer mow it because it's all wavy and corroded and everything.
Is that, have we seal coated out that far? Is
Yes, I did. No, it's not that. It's drainage. I put in new culverts because they were all plugged and that ditch was holding massive amounts of water. Now it flows, but in order for it to flow, it's too steep for him to mow. And
Okay.
I don't doubt that it has eroded some.
Well, yeah,
you know,
because it's
and
not
that's
all grass and pretty.
No, no.
There's, a lot of dirt and everything throughout it,
But
so.
for it to flow, it has to be that steep, and that's the problem, right?
Okay.
He's not gonna mow it and not have the water.
Right, so
Back-
that's
be backed
understandable,
up.
that is very understandable, but
So-
if we could take some, some grass, something to, you know, make it look a little bit
Yeah,
nicer.
I wouldn't doubt it needs to touch up after we seeded it originally, yeah, because it, just like any ditch area, it's hard to get grass growing in there, and that's, I can't babysit it all day, you know, so.
No, but like I said, that man has been in this city forever,
Just seems
and there are
like-
so many
oh,
people
no.
that would do so much for him, and
I
he would
know.
do the same for anybody.
I know Larry, and he expressed his concerns, and I told him we gotta have the water moved because we were getting complaints upstream, it wasn't, you know. So
Right.
the water
I'm not
has to
looking-
move down.
I'm not
No,
looking
no,
for
no, no.
answers.
I'm just saying, we gotta come up with a solution, and I don't know what it is, but we'll find some.
Okay, so then I'll push to have a solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will.
Any other non-agenda related items? Alright, hearing none, we'll move on to written reports and recognize Fire Chief Graham.
The only thing I gotta add to my report is, I was talking with Centerpoint Ambulance about, they were talking to me about a call, and, they're struggling to get ambulances out the door, and they were asking if we could keep an ambulance in Alburnett for backup. It wouldn't cost anything but electricity to keep it plugged in, it's their insurance, it's their supplies. They have a hard time getting with Central City and Cog and that area. They just don't have volunteers. It was just brought up, I said I'd ask you guys what you guys' opinion was before they pursued going any farther.
So is this something that we would then take the rig to
Like if
call?
we had a call, it would stay there. We were gonna take our fire truck, you know, whatever, but it's just a backup for them. In case they can't, or need a second unit out the door or something, or.
So then we're not expecting to ban it then?
We'll just man it if they're desperate. I mean, we're not gonna run it every day. It's just gonna be parked there.
And they have one in Central City right now as well.
Yeah, but it's
right?
not manned at all.
Right.
That one would probably come over here if it was,
This isn't the first time they've
yeah,
parked them elsewhere.
yeah. They've approached us before. I said I'd ask you guys, I talked about it last week, and it's their insurance, their fuel, their medical supplies. If somebody would take it out, we'd be a member of their ambulance association or whatever they are.
I did talk with Steve, we probably need a 2080. I don't think we have a 2080 with Centerpoint right now, so, or at least not with their, I don't know if their ambulance service is
Probably
separate.
with, county has one for everybody.
We'd have to look into that.
So what would you do? Somebody from here would open it up for them?
But we'd eventually take it, one of our person would take it,
Oh, take it to
but yeah.
this side.
But like if we had a call, it would say, we take our fire truck. Then if they can't, we've had to call Hiawatha 3 times a month, because that point was responding. So,
Does this then alleviate our need or push out the timeline for a medical truck for us, or is that something we'd still
I
pursue?
still think we need it. My committee's really slow. So it could be 3 years before we talk about what's happening.
But this doesn't put it on hold,
No.
I guess would be my
No,
question.
it's just trying to help them out. Usually a good turnout of people come.
And we do have the people that are qualified, yeah, whatever, to take it out.
I'm a little confused on who decides when that rolls out the door and who's gonna do it. How's that different than what we have
They would
now?
have to pay just that.
Somebody would page the fire department out for the ambulance.
Yes.
Who makes that call?
As soon as an appointment. Or the county on. If they can't get the unit out the door, they're gonna.
And that happens today, so if there's something in Central City, for example, and they don't respond, the dispatch will page out
Someone else.
us
Okay, someone else. will-
within the radius.
180, okay. So physically, would that park on the back side, the front side, where would that thing?
Probably right now on the front side,
Or
with that open hole.
Okay,
you guys can think about it too, I just don't wanna talk to you guys and whatever.
All he's looking for tonight is just, you know, if we definitely weren't interested, we'd let Centerpoint know, because they're still discussing it, but if it's something you wanted to entertain.
It's nothing official, it's just,
I think that's something we'll at least investigate and make a reasonable decision on it. It's kind of goosey, right?
Well, and also, what, 70% of our calls are medical, so if it comes down, if they can't get here, and we've got a rig sitting there, it's gonna help service us, yes, sir.
We better get with insurance
Yep.
on it and check that part out, not knowing.
Do we need to get an opinion from our attorney?
I'd start with insurance.
Yeah,
and
if we can be
look
completely
into the-
insured, I don't think,
And look into the 2080s that exist.
I think eventually we'd all become members of the Centerpoint ambulance and be insured through them.
okay. Yeah, I don't know how that stuff works.
We just talked about it, and I said I'd talk to you guys, I talked to Bethany first, see what she thought, and I just brought it here. I mean,
I think it's worth exploring. Again, 70% of our
I don't
calls are
think they're
medical.
in a hurry either, just look into it, let them know, and
Maybe one of their volunteers can come to them as well.
maybe
Who knows more?
pick their president.
Unless someone speaks otherwise, I would say, let them know that we can continue to work through the details. I do want to say, I looked at your report, and I was really hoping, there were no perfect scores on there. There are several people who made all but one of the calls. It was pretty impressive, so. Shout out to Nate, Jackson, Steve, you were one of them. I expect a perfect score next time, just saying.
Step up.
I gotta work though.
Any other questions for Chief Graham? Do you have any events coming up?
I was just gonna know, but the September 18th, we're talking about doing breakfast with the Diamond Club at the last,
Second to last.
what was September 18th, Mark?
One of your trucks got repaired. Is that repaired to your satisfaction?
Yeah. Build air pressure fine.
Have you got your new air pack yet?
Yeah.
You did get it?
Yep.
You got rid of the old one?
I've got rid of the old ones, I just got the hose for the hose wouldn't work, so I didn't get
That's
the
right.
hose. So that just came last week. It's still sitting there.
Good. Where do you guys stand on inventory? As far as the physical inventory report? We're still got that done? I just gotta get with you and put down where we can, maybe where we bridge is, and where we can get it fixed there.
Okay.
So we just, that's just big work. So,
All right. Nothing else for Steve. We'll move on to Public Works and recognize Mr. Trumbull.
I don't really have anything to add. Ongoing street patching has been going well. Once we finally got our claws into Dan, he's been sticking with it, so. And otherwise, just waiting on a few things here and there, trying to, now that I'm back from a little vacation, we'll hammer out some of these, the speed zones, top of the list. I was hoping maybe Jim could get to it while I was gone, but he didn't, I see, so we'll get that set up. Get going from there.
Let's make sure we give Sheriff a heads up as soon as those signs go up.
Okay.
Anything for Mr. Trimble?
Is the battery, go ahead, I was just asking, is the battery dead on the speed sign?
Jim, I asked Jim to, is it on the south side of town now?
north side.
Go north side.
Out west.
I don't know, I asked him to put new batteries in it and move it, that was one of his items to complete while I was gone, and I just got back to town this afternoon, so we'll take a look at it more.
I did ask Diane, talked to Guy one day about, no parking signs in the city. There's so many and we're so faint you can't read them. So, we talked to him about getting it on the trail, so,
some new ones to put up in the new edition, so.
So there's quite a few no parking signs.
Alright, if nothing else, we'll move on to the clerk's report, and we'll recognize Clerk Shelby.
I don't have really anything to add to the report. The main things on the report are going to be, we're looking at doing a possible G-Works to clerk books proposal. It would be approximately about a third of the cost yearly than what we're paying right now to go to clerk books. And it would also allow more versatile functionality of the program. Clerk Books has a QuickBooks background. Both Guy and myself have QuickBooks background, and it can be found online instead of having to call somebody, wait for an answer, and then pay $139 an hour for them to explain that. There's a lot of other interesting features that would be help with our labor costs, including printing of cards for the water bills. Right now we have to print a sheet, and Guy and I sit there and tear off things and separate them. There's labor involved in that. With this program, Clerk Books actually prints out a physical card. It just goes out the door. So, things to think about there. It's an extremely robust program with good support, and it's tailored for smaller cities. So, it's my suggestion that if we can, we already have the facts and everything as far as it's in your packets and how much the cost would be, but I would like to consider pursuing this further, if possible. The second thing is the direct deposits of all checks, which would be including your checks, is underway. Would like to get your approval to do that. And basically just mean that instead of getting a physical check, our checks would all be considered direct deposit, and the bank is working with us on that.
Any questions? A little more background on the clerk books. G-Works that we have right now, essentially the version we're on, they're moving to the point of no support. So we can't upgrade Windows, can't go to Windows 11, it's not supported. So they've released a new version called Front Desk. They're trying to sell to any of their current clients, but it's really, really geared towards your Cedar Rapids size cities. So it's more like, you know, I can go online and pay my electric bill through a self-service portal. It's that type of thing, but it's way heavier than what we need and quite expensive. So that's what's also prompted some of this looking for other solutions, not to mention the support for G-Works right now is call in a ticket and wait for them to call you back. That doesn't always work, especially if we're trying to get something out the door. So.
Is this program widely used amongst the other clerks that you're visiting with or have contact with? Or?
Yeah, there's a couple of them that have started using it for the same reasons.
Okay.
It's because they're a small town, they just don't, G-Works is not, it's not conducive to what they're doing.
Right.
Centerpoint has actually stated that they're recognizing that 8,000 a month is not practical for using G-Works, and we've spent in the last 6 years 35,000 on this program.
And this all blends in with Neptune and everything?
Yeah, actually it does. Yeah, and what the nice thing is they'll take 2 weeks to transfer everything over for us. They'll do all the reconciliation. They have me do about several hours of training. They do several days of one-on-one training. All of that is included in that initial cost. They break the cost up as far as the first half, I think it's like 6,000 some, and then the second half you pay. And I did include the larger amount for the 80 hours of additional support. So, yeah, I mean, it's the nice thing with them is, as well as, you know, like Bethany was saying, right now I'm waiting for a call. With them, I can make an appointment that I can schedule on their system and say, call me at this time. So I know, and that way I don't have to interrupt my day. I can get something taken care of right away if I can't get on the phone. They also have a chat feature and a text support. Again, the other nice thing is, like Bethany was mentioned, this QuickBooks is constantly updating. They're constantly evolving. with G-Works, they're evolving into something different that they want us to use on top of the background that we're already using that isn't working really well for us. So that's why we're thinking about moving to them.
What would be the next step that you would need from us?
The next step would basically be to, I'm gonna look at the numbers again and make sure we can do some negotiation if possible, on the numbers. And then, they've already said that if we need additional, meetings so that members can be involved to see what it does, you're more than welcome to join, and I'll set those up. And then at that point, just approval to move forward. It is time sensitive. The longer we wait, the more months they have to go back, the more it costs. So that's why they're saying we've got 2 months in after the new fiscal year, do it as soon as possible, instead of me spending it's up to you. I can spend another year working with G-Works and then do it the next fiscal year, but it would be more ideal to do it as sooner than possible.
I would like to see a demo. We obviously have the contract that we need to review a little more closely. I didn't have a chance to do this before this, but anyone opposed to continuing to review and look at clerk books as an alternative to G-Works? So we'll continue to pursue it. I would like a demo. I'd like to see it. So.
Everybody knows what they're doing. I'm a roadkill on the information. So you don't want me involved.
We'll send something out and see if anyone else wants to. We just have to be careful not to get a quorum.
Thank you.
The other item that he did have was requesting direct deposit for all checks. That does require approval from council, I believe, right? Because that is a deviation from how we've previously done things. So I would seek a motion to approve allowing direct deposit for all checks, payroll checks.
So
Moved by Shantz. Second by Trum. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. Anything else for Chris before we move on?
Okay, so welcome aboard.
Glad to be here.
Is already needy? All right. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. So this does include the minutes from last meeting, list of bills, current claims, and approval of the Iowa ABD, what's that, alcoholic beverage department, I believe is what that is.
Yep.
Did I get it? All right. Thank you. So the approval of the alcoholic beverage division for Gibby's outdoor license for his 2 events that he has, one on this coming Saturday on the 16th of July and the other for August 6th. And that is all in your packet. Any changes to the consent agenda, any additions of bills or anything else that we know of? All right. With that, I would seek a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Bosenberg, second by Myers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. We move into new business. Item A is the rental inspection agreements with Blinn County. We'll recognize Luke, who is here with us this evening.
Good evening. If you don't mind, I'll stand back here so I don't have my butt. My name's Luke Maloney, Lynn County Building Official. So, little back history. We've been talking to cities about this for a long time, and it's been something that we haven't really ever had the traction to get it done at the county level to be able to offer it to a city. We understand that city budgets can't afford programs like this. It is expensive. But we got to a place where some of the smaller cities in Lynn County had some sort of assessment done, and Community Services Director Ashley Bayless came kind of partnered with our department and took this issue to the board that quality of housing was one of the #1 issues that came up for small cities. So, and part of the reason that happens is because the larger jurisdictions have rental and property maintenance programs and code enforcement divisions, and so that tends to push some of the lesser invested landlords, I'll say it like that, out to the smaller communities. And that's not picking on everybody. There's great landlords all over the state, but there is a few out there that kind of would allow people to live in less than quality conditions. So that's kind of the background of the program. We finally got the funding from the Board of Supervisors. This is 100% just nonprofit, no, we're just covering our cost. That being said, it would be no cost to the city. The city will retain enough of the fees to cover your admin costs to provide the list of non-owner occupied properties. And the way you do that's through the water bill typically. So, and if that didn't work, we'd find a different way to figure it out. Our GIS department can figure that out as well. So there's no way I'm going to sell anybody on adding an additional cost right now. That's not going to work. But what I'm going to say is this is no different than me as an electrician obtaining a permit to wire a single-family residence. For 2 years, the average cost for a single-family dwelling for a landlord would be $225. That includes inspections, that includes registration, that includes the admin cost for everything. They obtain a certificate of inspected housing out of the deal, which hopefully will help them get quality candidates to move in and keep their properties ready. The codes we're going to enforce are the very D- of housing regulations. We're not asking anybody to, if your house was built in 1950 as an example, you don't have to update anything to current code other than state mandated items such as smoke detectors. That's a state law, that isn't something we're coming up with, but, so like, the big question is always GFCIs in a kitchen. Well, if your house was wired in the 1950s, there's no such thing as a GFCI. We would recommend it, not require it. The current installed receptacle would just have to be functional and non-broken, basically. I can't think of the appropriate word. And installed per code per the time the place was built. So this is bare minimum standards. We're not really amending anything into it. Because of that, we want to make sure we're at the lowest cost possible with the program, so that it's, although there is an upfront fee for us to come out and do this, at least we're not adding on to it and making it very complicated for landlords to understand. The other thing I'd like to say is, this is not, we're not reinventing the wheel here. There's a lot of programs everywhere around here, basically. The small towns in Blinn County are about the only ones who don't have it. We've had nothing but positive response out of this for the most part. Even some of the individuals that are leery of, having inspectors come in their properties, there are sides that benefit you as far as liability. If your handrail, as an example, was faulty and it didn't meet the minimum standards and someone trips down your stairs, they could sue you for that handrail, because there is a standard that says you have to have a handrail that does this and that. That doesn't mean that your stairs is going to meet current code. That, a lot of houses have really steep staircases going to the attic or what have you. But so that's kind of the overall thing of the rentals. It's a 2-year cycle right now. Our intentions are to back that off as the city council feels comfortable, meaning if we get the rental units comfortable and compliant, there's no reason to come out every 2 years. We could back that program off. Actually, it would save us staff time. We could focus in other areas where the county needs more assistance with more staff devotion or whatever. I can't think of the right way to say that, but so this is a dedicated position. We have already hired and filled that spot. Our staff member's name is Veronica. She was over at Motor Vehicles. She's been in collections. She's customer service heavy. This isn't a really technical, the rental inspections aren't very technical. It's more just standardized inspection, meaning that she's going to check the receptacles to make sure they're wired correctly with a tester. She will be certified to do this. We are working with her right now in the training process. One other thing I'd like to say is if a tenant complains about a landlord, we would ask that we were shown proof in writing that they requested whatever maintenance or repair needed to be done. We're not just gonna go out and investigate stuff and without having proof they followed the right chain of events. One other comment I want to bring up is somebody asked me why you can't just, well, they have legal aid, they can just go to Iowa Legal Aid and, well, we have multiple cities, a couple cities where they had rental units, multifamily units, and I think one of them had 9 units and the other one had 4. They didn't have heat, so what the landlord did is drop off $15 space heaters. That's all they had. Well, if they would have gone to Iowa Legal Aid, they can file whatever they want with the court. If they don't have the money to hire an attorney to file the appropriate paperwork, could get rejected. It could take months to get that through. So, argument to that is we can step in, we could do an emergency action and make them fix it. So, obviously in conjunction with the city, but so that's kind of the overall quick picture of the rental program. Do I have any questions on that? I'm trying to be as brief and to the point as possible on that.
I guess my one, so I understand the city's role in the registration process for landlords. That's kind of a one-time thing unless a property turns over to a new landlord. Beyond that, is there any other engagement you would need from us? So the landlords request their own inspections, or they're on the cycle. Is there any other way that the city, anything else we have to administer?
No, we would ask that the list of who the landlords are be updated annually, so we can make sure our records are correct and send the appropriate inspection requests to those individuals. We're going to handle all the notices, all the letters. The only time we'd come back to the city for anything is if we were at a point where we needed to enforce something or litigate something formally. So, meaning a city citation or something to that effect. That 99.9% of the time doesn't ever get that far, and well, I'm not too worried about that being a thing. But so, again, there's kind of 2 sides of the program, and I haven't touched on the property maintenance side yet because I want to keep that separate. The rental unit program is, I mean, it's everywhere around here, so it's not unheard of, and I've been a part of helping the city of Hiawatha back in the day when they implemented theirs, so very experienced in it. I've seen how that can really help a community, and there was a lot of problems there before that program got going, so.
As we move on down the line here, are you gonna provide an accurate checklist as to what this lady's gonna be looking for?
Absolutely. Up front, there is a comment in the PowerPoint, I believe council got a chance to review that. The checklist is going to be almost absolute as possible, because what we want to do is send that checklist out with our inspection request 30 days in advance, so that the owners or authorized agent knows exactly what we're coming to look at. So there's no surprises, we're not going to add things as we're going. Having said that, I think the checklist is still in draft form. For the most part, we stole it from the city of Marion. And the reason is because we're trying not to reinvent the wheel again. We're trying to keep it these are the violations we're looking for. We're not going off that script, but I want our new staff member to have a little bit of say in what that checklist looks like. The final version. So I'm just trying to keep a little bit of wiggle room until we get the program up and rolling, and maybe she'll see some common violations that we don't have on the checklist that might need to be on the checklist to avoid problems in the future. So yeah, it will be a checklist-driven inspection, not just walk in, we'll hand them a copy of the checklist when we're done. So
it's been several months since we met over at Center Point. Is there a kind of a kickoff time for this, or other cities buying into it right away, or if we don't decide for a month or 2? Just what's the path forward?
okay, so the path forward is right now I'm working on agreements for several cities. For sure, I want to say 3 of the cities. We contract with 8 cities right now. I'll just say it like this: for building code services, for building inspections. I know 3 if not 4 of the cities are like, please, let's get this going right now, kind of thing. We were looking at a September 1st start date for 3 to 4 cities, but that, in my mind, is a soft rollout, because that means I have to go with our new staff person and kind of make sure we're understanding what this program looks like and how to, training in the office is one thing, but getting into somebody's apartment and go through with that whole process is a little different. So we may even bump that up with 1 or 2 cities just to kind of do a soft rollout so that I do have a little more time with her to get her trained before we do a formal rollout. But my goal is full implementation, and that's dependent on councils signing agreements and reviewing the agreements and stuff like that by October 1st. That might be a little aggressive, but I think we're ready for it, and I think she's only been here 1 week, and she's been taking tests and studying really hard, so I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes with this.
But we'd have the opportunity to engage later, correct? Like, it's not a drop dead October 1 that if we don't decide by then, we can come back.
Not at all. Actually, if it's delayed, that just gives us more time. Like I said, we probably have, I would bet 5 of the cities were like, okay. It was that quick, and I'm like, well, let me get this
We
going.
gotta ease into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, from that meeting, there are at least 3 or 4 that were ready to go right away.
Yeah, and there's one city that already contracts with another department for it, and we're just taking over that program at the direction of the board of supervisors. So it's kind of, yeah, we can get it going as fast as we need to, and I will have enough staff where we're probably a week away from interviewing for our last staff open spot. So that means we'll have 4 inspectors now, which 2 of them are dedicated to building only, and the other one is kind of like an apprentice. So they will be assisting the inspectors in doing the non-licensed inspections that as they come up to free those guys up for the bigger projects kind of thing. So I think we're going to be very well staffed to cover everything. So.
Any other questions? We appreciate you being here, because this was on our last council meeting, and there were a lot of, I don't know, so appreciate having the man here with us to be able to ask the questions.
Okay, so there is another side. Would you like me to touch on that real quick, the property maintenance?
Are we good with rental? Everybody? Right, yep.
I take it everything's gonna be standardized.
Very.
Very.
Everything's standardized amongst.
So it's no different, so if one landlord has property in that town, this town, that town, you don't have 3 different things.
Now, I'll say it like this, with all due respect to Cedar Rapids, the largest jurisdiction, I did not look at their housing ordinance. I looked at the smaller jurisdictions because I knew what they had already. So I stuck with that. I think Cedar Rapids might be a little bit different animal, and they have more resources than we would have. So yes, this is very standardized. This is, the code book this is based off of is a standard ICC issued model code. So it is nothing new at all.
What else you got?
If it's approved by one inspector, then 2 years later it's not gonna be rejected by a second.
There's only one inspector. The only other person who would follow up is potentially me.
I thought I heard you say something about 3 people.
For building.
Yeah, for building we have multiple inspectors, and that's a little harder to do, is not have some follow-up, but those guys usually are, especially as their experience level grows, they're in pretty good communication, so they understand where the projects are at. They're not, well, hopefully they're not doing that.
Thank you.
What else you got? What's the other side?
Okay, so the property maintenance is a different animal completely. There is no anything that's a city-driven complaint, meaning the city would have to request us to come out and look at a property maintenance issue, because we would charge the city for that inspection, and the city would have the ability to assess that cost against the property. We wouldn't. So it's 100% only driven by a city request. We wouldn't take a phone call or a complaint from a citizen. It would have to be upon request of the city because of the cost. So it just offers that service. If, you know, we all know there's properties in every town and anywhere USA that could probably use a little bit of maintenance, but it's whether the city decide to want to, you know, step in and get involved with that or not, that would be up to you guys, not us, so.
So I know a lot of times we're restricted by, it has to be line of sight from public right of way. Would that be true with you, or would you be allowed into a property? We obviously have to request access, but.
Well, there's a lot of rules to right of entry. You have the right, like as a sheriff deputy would tell you, you can walk up and knock on the door. You can't take pictures over a fence, you can't, I mean, it wouldn't be admissible, you can't do anything like that. But if it was a situation that needed it, getting an administrative warrant to search the property is typically not that hard to do. We've done it in different situations and took about 15 minutes and a trip down to the courthouse, so.
Is that part of the property maintenance process though?
Yeah.
If needed?
Yep, so it's imminent, like if something were an imminent hazard, there's provisions for dangerous buildings, unsafe buildings. The city would have the right to secure it through that. I mean, if it was something where we were saying, hey, this needs to be secured right now, this is a problem, we'd come right to you, then we'd go take care of it, we'd just get it done. And then, again, that cost would be assessed against the property, you'd file a citation, get them in front of a judge. That's about it.
So that's not really gonna cost the city much, but you're gonna do the legwork on that, for sure.
Yep. All the notices, until it gets to the point where the city attorney has to get involved, we will take care of it.
So are those two different programs you're saying then?
It's the same individual, two different programs,
Okay.
but it's offered, I mean, we're offering it together.
Yeah.
Separate 2080s?
Probably, because as of right now, I have two separate ordinances, and I wanted to keep it two separate items.
Questions? We'll be in touch with your office then.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. Alright, that moves us to item B, which is the ACDC special event request for September 18th. So this should be in your packet.
Yeah, you're
Nicely typed, looks nice, so.
I think it's better than my last one, because she did it. Justin Martin, president of Alburnett Community Diamond Club. September 18th, we have our September farmers market, and ever since we started the farmers markets, we've been trying to figure out ways to expand them. So, to get more people there and do more fundraising to do improvements to the diamond. We came up with the idea this year on that date to have a slow pitch softball tournament. Starting 8 o'clock. We don't know how many teams yet. We haven't really fully hashed it out, but we're trying to get it hashed out before an approval, before benefit days hit. So when benefit days hit, we can promote a lot that day. Since we're only a month and 18 days basically past benefit days. I don't think traffic's gonna be an issue. It'd be no different than any other tournament we have at the Diamond. I guess I can't really say because the only tournament we had this year got rained out. Thank you to Mother Nature, around 5 inches of rain that day. But and like Steve said, we've discussed working with them with the fire department to have breakfast that morning, since we're going to start the tournament at 8 o'clock. We also have a vendor that day already signed up who, and we have not talked to her about this, it's just an option. She has a mobile liquor license. I don't know if it's your guys' discrepancy, we can do it or not. We have not discussed to her.
She's working on it. Yeah, for that trailer, she's working on it, is what she said.
Okay.
It's not been put in the system yet. She contacted me the other day.
Okay.
Just
So yeah, he's ahead of us because we were told that she had it. We're not. It's going to be like benefit days. Bring your own cooler, so we're not having to worry about controlling any of the alcohol anyways, unless we, you know. And if that's in the works, I'm not even gonna worry about that now. It's too close. So we're just basically asking permission, since we're looking at maybe over 200 people, to be able to have that event. And then on that note too, we're actually looking ahead to the December one, or the October one. This crash and bash thing for our benefit days seems to be really taking off. Remote patrol, mud run, and tractor pull. They're up to, they said the other night, possibly 150 vehicles. And we're actually talking with them possibly about building a permanent pulling track for them to do multiple ones. So we're, like I said, I'm just talking ahead. I may be back next month. But we may be asking for permission to have a RC pull and mud bog with the October farmer's market. But what I'm looking for approval tonight is to be able to have a slow pitch tournament on top of our farmer's market September 18th.
We like you here, you can come every meeting, we don't care. Do you need any street closure?
I don't think we will. If anything, we might want to put no parking down one side of Mailer, First, and North Third in that triangle there, because we will have the vendors set up in our usual parking till 2, 3 o'clock. And I don't, like I said, I'm not sure how many teams we're gonna have. We gotta, permission first before we really start pushing on it. But like, I don't think it'd be much different besides taking out that bit of parking than a regular baseball tournament type day. They could probably park in the school, but I would probably want to put no parking down one side so they can't block it for emergency traffic.
Just add into the no parking signs that are already there, so.
Yeah,
no-
just put them on cones or whatever, so
Yeah.
they know not to go on those sides.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the special event permit for September 18th for the Diamond Club. Moved by Myers, second by Bozenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Tournament.
Thank you.
All right, item C. Leslie from ACDC would like to discuss reconsideration of the special event permit for August 6th obtained by Mr. Gibbons.
Since the June council meeting, we've had many community members come forward with complaints or concerns about having 2 events, one for-profit and one not-for-profit, on the same night in our tiny little town. That way you don't have a lot of events going on, except for that night. The concerns have been noise. We have many local businesses that are sponsoring events throughout the day that may be inhibited by the noise created from an outdoor band just blocks away from the Diamond. We have confirmed with ACDC neighbors that the bands from prior benefit days can easily be heard at the Diamond. Some of the events going on are our outdoor movie, bingo, so we'll be able to have, hear bingo calling, those types of items. The need for a detour. Traffic coming into Alburnett from the south will have to detour around to get to benefit day. So around the for-profit event to get to our nonprofit event. We've had a lot of confusion and concern coming forward about having 2 events approved, like I said, one for-profit, one not-for-profit. And the concern about community members thinking that the for-profit event would be benefiting the Diamond Club, which it is not. It's not part of Alburnett Benefit Day at all. And this one here got brought forward that I hadn't really considered. Unsupervised children. So concerns have been brought forward about the risk of parents dropping their children off for benefit day activities and then attending the street dance, since it is walking ability away for that. And then just for some other clarification, after listening to the recording from the June 2022 council meeting, while Mike Gibbons is a member of the ACDC as of the June meeting, he has not attended or volunteered since the June meeting, despite multiple opportunities. And at this time, we have not been approached about his event, except for listening to the council meeting recording on YouTube. That's it.
I did speak with Mr. Gibbons this afternoon as well, so as far as the noise, the intention is to move the band inside at 8 o'clock. So I did
Which
get
does
that.
alleviate the movie, but not the rest of the day.
Correct. I did get that confirmation. So he does have the street closed until 11, but the band will move inside at 8. notification. So I'd say those are all, justifiable concerns, absolutely. Pleasure, council. It did come up last meeting that there are 2 events on the same night. I tend to agree with Leslie, that's a lot for a little town. We've got 52 weekends in a year, it'd be nice to spread it out. Thoughts from council?
Did we give permission on this, I forgot?
Yes. You got approval at the June meeting.
Is this something that we can try as an experiment to see how things go? And then we can be smarter next time. Is that possible? Is that a thought? I realize everybody's put work in on it already. So I'd like to at least give them some reward for their work they put in. I mean, if it's a bad deal, why we can see next year? Just a thought.
The disappointing idea with giving it an idea to see how it goes is that we've had 2 very bad years as a nonprofit of trying to keep going. So if we have a 3rd bad year, I don't know how much support we can continue to give to the Alburnett community.
And I want to be conscientious, so Leslie and crew have done a lot of work getting sponsorships for Benefit Day, which is new this year and fantastic, because it's going to help them really reap the benefits of everyone that comes and makes the donations and things like that. So it does involve many businesses, local businesses, that are now ingrained as part of that event as well. So I just want to be fair to them and the donation that they're making.
I guess my question is, with the street dance, what are the options of moving that to another weekend?
The band's been booked and it's just acoustic guitar for the day shift, so there's not gonna be sound.
We don't have a formal appeal process, and I have talked to Leslie about this, so this is a different situation than I think we've run into. I think we fortunately might be in a place where we write it out this year and run with the lesson learned. But I do want to second the concerns, just having multiple events. The unsupervised children, that's my seen it happen, so.
What type of marketing, what type of message are we getting out there that this stuff is happening? And can you piggyback some of your messages with what's going on so that you can possibly...
I was told that I could not from them, that I was not part of it.
I would like to clarify that hasn't been said from the Diamond Club, as we have not communicated with Mr. Gibbons about the event. Since the money from his event is not benefiting the Alburnett Community Diamond Club, which is a nonprofit, we can't have the 2 events marketed together. If there is not a reconsideration of his event, I would push for marketing to be clearly stated that that money is not supporting us or the events that we sponsor. So even if both events have to happen, there needs to be clear marketing that they're not tied together.
Pleasure of the council.
I guess I was under the understanding that it was okay to have it, you know, that's what we got, you know.
It was that night.
That I'll take responsibility for that because I wrote that email as quick as I could when I found out he was coming because I could not make it.
We found
I
out
wanted to-
approximately an hour to an hour and a half before the last council meeting because nothing had been communicated to us, and Justin wrote a very hasty email regarding when he found out.
I guess the biggest thing I wanted to push in that email is that we had no ties and we had nothing, as a Diamond Club had nothing to do with that. We were not spoken to beforehand or anything about it. We'd heard rumors for months that it was gonna happen, but no one had ever came and talked to us, and why would we go talk to someone who wants to put an event on our event that we've had for 30 years, the first Saturday of the month of August? If he wanted to piggyback off us or whatever, I felt that he should come talk to us. He never talked to us. Yes, he came to our June meeting. Yes, he became a member. That night, he did not say 2 words, except for he paid his membership. And there's multiple witnesses to that. And he never, and we talked about donors. We had multiple deals for donors, and he never talked about donating, being a sponsor for any events either. It was never mentioned that night that he planned on doing this. So we knew nothing until, like she said, an hour and a half before this meeting. So yes, I sent that email very hastily, and I should have stated better that, you know, I guess, like I said, the biggest thing I was trying to get across is we don't have anything to do with it. And we were hoping that
With so many other weekends.
we can't understand why it's gotta be that weekend. Is my biggest thing.
Or that specific night, for that matter, or that day.
I mean, on our side, you gotta remember, I came to you guys in January for once to get approval for our event. It's never happened that far in advance. We got it put out there fast, and we got on the ball to start saying what events we wanted and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you guys have even commented how far ahead we are that we've never been.
Yeah, I certainly was under the impression last month on approval of the street dance that while the two were not related, that it was them being a member at that point of Diamond Club, that it was okay, that the coexistence of the two events was okay. It is a difficult spot. We're all in here. We, without a doubt, we support you guys. We also want to support one of the few businesses that we have in this town. I feel like we just gotta let it ride this year with both events. And take this as, foolish ones, shame on us. Because that's kind of the impression that I had after that first meeting, was that.
I mean, I guess if he's gonna put the band in at 8 o'clock, that solves the movie issue and it's just acoustics, the sound's not gonna be a problem. I guess we had enough, the biggest comment we had last year about moving it up there was people had found it hard to find it, the Diamond. So now we're gonna shut down Main Street, that's gonna make a detour, it's gonna make it even probably harder for people to understand when they're coming into town.
It's gonna push cars your way. The
Yes,
detour.
it would push cars
The
right into
detour is
the road.
gonna push cars your direction.
Right.
If they don't stop right here thinking that this is benefit day.
signage.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, put a 4x8 sheet of plywood and put benefit days, right on the path.
Have side-by-side signs saying benefit days that way, street dance this way. So if they're, those two separate arrows say, hey, we're not the same thing. If you're looking for this, you need to go over it. Now, where those signs are gonna come from, who's gonna pay for those? I don't know. Like I said, this is not something that I would support in any future years after this.
Sounds like we do need to look at policy as far as first request, first serve for special events. It is difficult to have something on the same day, so lesson learned. What I am hearing from council is that, you know, both sides have put work in and we just live with those lessons for this year. Unless I hear anything different. Thank you for coming forward, we appreciate it. Hopefully we can alleviate some of those, work together. That moves us on to 15D, Nancy Fuller, special event request, which, this is outside your packet. So that should be sitting north of your packet. You've got the book.
Should be pretty simple. Last year, we had talked about doing something on a Friday night to go into benefit days on Saturday because they do have it up there. This year, even now knowing both things are going on Saturday night, I still think that it would be a great idea to have something on Friday night, just for future benefit days, that when they're still up at the Ball Diamond, then Uptown's Friday night, Ball Diamond Saturday. So I asked that we could do something Saturday night, and nothing. Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, that, Friday night. Nothing huge, because there's not enough time to plan anything huge. But just if I could get a small band together and it, shut off the street from, like in front of the Historical Society to the insurance company. Just have a band for a few hours, close off the street at 6 to 11, but have the band from like 7 to 10, which allows us time to set up and time to take things down. I don't have anything in stone because I didn't know if I would get approved or not, so. Here I
On
am.
this, would it be better to close right here? Like maybe at the edge of the post office and north? Instead of blocking off
It might be,
that
however,
intersection?
the reason I put it like that is to start it right this year, so in the future years we could do it this way, because that's how it always used to be. It was always right there, and there was a band right in the middle of the intersection. And so both bars benefited from this.
And next year I will move to Friday night.
And I will also, donate 10% of our profit, I would say more, but I don't know how much the band will cost and all that stuff. But I've also been trying to think of other ways to earn money, like other little things to happen during this time, to donate money to the ACDC. Because how it used to be is that after the band or during the middle of the band, we'd buy pies from the Historical Society, and we would auction them off to all the drunk people at the end of the night, and we'd get all kinds of money. And that was always donated.
That's a sound plan.
Guaranteed money maker.
So I am just gonna ask, we have another Main Street business owner, happens to be with us tonight. How, 2 events, back-to-back nights, what's that impact to you?
It can be huge. I mean, we're good. What I don't get, I'm gonna lay it out here. We have a bar owner here, closing here to his place. Originally Nancy was on board, because thought it was closing the whole frickin' thing. Now here we are wanting a Friday night to close it all the way. Who's in the middle of that? Lefties. Business owners want to work together. Really? First I've heard of this is tonight. That's one reason I'm here. I think, okay, 10% of your profit, okay? Maybe you don't even make a profit, so you don't donate. Even though I know that's not true, okay? I know that's not true. In years past, I would close at 2 and 3 o'clock. I'd donate ice. Me closing my business, I'd tell them, that's my donation. I love supporting it and everything, but I'm getting tired of my business being shut off with little signs like this. Convenience store is open. You know, we had to move some signs around, point down this way. Painted little signs, convenience store is open. So my opinion, make them both go together, make them both go Friday night this year, and work together. Enough of this bullshit of being separate. Okay? You want my opinion? You got it.
Thank you.
It may hurt my business, but that's the way it goes.
I appreciate your concern. I do. And had I really thought that much about the little signs, I wish you would say, Nancy, what's up with them little signs? Because
I should have to.
I'd have made a big, I always thought everybody knows where you're at, you know, and it's not totally closed off to there. So I'm sorry for that.
Nope, that's fine, that's water on the
Okay.
bridge.
So I know now you guys are in quite a predicament.
Okay.
I'm gonna take that predicament away. I'm withdrawing. Okay? Next year, I'll approach it, and we'll try again.
Sounds
I don't like the argument, like,
Thank you.
it's not worth it.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys have a good night.
Well, I do have,
I'm sorry.
Kent brought up a point. It was also our understanding in June that you were on board with Saturday night. Would it help us to amend the street closure and widen that out so that your establishment can also be included? Because that, same impact to Mr. Wright regardless. He's already got the
Okay,
detour around.
We will have to detour north, traffic coming from the north too, if we shut it down on that side of the Four Corners. We'll have to detour both ways.
That would still, we're not gonna have another band out front or anything, and it's really no big deal. It isn't, you know, so hopefully Saturday we'll go into Gibbons and we'll bring a pie in and we'll say $200, you know, or whatever.
That's right.
You know, we'll make the best of it,
So,
you know.
while all this stuff's going on, we've got this softball tournament that wraps up at 8 on September 18th. Would that be a date that you would want to have an event?
Oh, that's an idea. Oh, no, that's not an idea.
Street dances and Sunday don't seem to go together too
Well,
well.
that's Sunday.
It's a good idea, but yeah, it's a Sunday.
I was thinking it was a Saturday, you were right. It's like the Super Bowl. No one
When's
wants to
October
work the next
21st
day.
fall on?
Two birthdays.
Yeah, no, it's our birthday, but,
October 21st is a Friday.
yeah, there we go, October 21st, yeah. It'd be kind of cold out there, wouldn't it?
You never know.
Never know.
May have missed.
I'll deal with that at a later time, so, no, we're good. I was just trying to, you know, make something to start the next year's forward, so. And I'm really sorry about Kent's sign. Yeah, they're little red signs, but I thought everybody'd seen the sign, you know?
No, we appreciate our local businesses, all of them, want to be fair. I do look forward, new traditions change, so I look forward to new traditions. It sounds like we've got some good things happening with the Diamond Club. Let's make it even better next year, so appreciate it very much. All right, so item D has been withdrawn. That moves us to 15E, Board of Adjustments, 303 Longworth Avenue variance request.
Yep.
Recognize Mr. Suka.
Yes, ma'am, I don't know how Do you want me to actually read the variance, what was requested? Are you guys up with it? Because I have it right here.
Yeah, go ahead and give us the whole rundown.
Okay, it's from John and Valerie Cole, and we are requesting a variance for our property located at 303 Longworth Avenue in the Naylor Estates Second Edition. The variance is for section 6-64-18, section 3 in the City of Alburnett's Code of Ordinances, adopted July 12, 2012. I am requesting a rear yard depth of 20 feet instead of standard rear yard depth of 25 feet. With this additional space, I am planning to build an elevated Four Seasons enclosed area attached to the rear of the house where my current deck resides. The additional space on the planned addition will allow for better use of materials and provide additional roof space for solar panels, southern facing installation to maximize the collection of capability of the array. We are hoping to have approval so we may start the building design process and get building supplies ordered by the second week in July. All 5 of us board members met June 29th. Very little negative discussion, if any, and it was passed unanimously to grant the 20 feet instead of 25. The only mention of anything negative was the solar panels, and that's not our call.
Let that experience. Any questions? So it's my understanding they got an existing deck, they want to frame it in, add a roof to it, therefore it now it becomes an enclosure and it has to be 25 feet from the rear, and it would only be 20, so that's been approved. It's my understanding we take their recommendation, we don't actually then have to approve, is that correct? That's how we
Yeah, you should have a vote. According to, I consulted with,
We have to have a reason to not accept it,
okay,
a definite, oh no reason.
yeah.
Otherwise,
So I do believe it is just a motion to approve what the Board of Adjustments decided. It's just a simple.
Okay. Any questions before we get to that point? I'd seek a motion to approve the Board of Adjustments recommendation for the variance request at 303 Longworth Avenue.
So
Moved by Sean, so I'll take a second by Myers. Any further discussion? All those,
Just one other thing, and that's, you're good, but the deck right now extends 21.5 feet, but a deck can until you put a roof on it and such, so it's only 3 feet, give or take.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Appreciate your time. Thank
You
you
bet.
very much. Oh,
I know.
all right, you're up. Steve, item F, request to allow fire department to fill swimming pools.
We have a lot of people that request to get some pool filled. 2 or 3 years ago, you guys said we could do it more. I talked with Center Point Fire, and they have an agreement, and their money goes to the fire truck fund or building fund. But the fire department gets it, and I said, I don't care who gets the money as long as it goes to, let's say, a fire truck fund. And that's probably the most, or something like the fire department. You guys keep it, just earmark it for fire department use. This is the agreement that they gave us. Bethany just tweaked it to say Alburnett pretty much.
So I know our concerns before were liability, so this would alleviate that. Wear and tear on the pumps, but in talking to Steve, they've gotta be run occasionally anyway, and frankly, at this point, just on the street I live on, 90% of people already have their pools and have them filled. So I don't think there's gonna be a huge ask. And the third concern was just the cost factor of taking the trucks out and those types of things. And so before they did free will donation, and even Steve admitted they didn't always get what we would consider fair. So this has an actual name fee in there, set fees.
do they think they're saving money by having you come fill it, or is it that they want to?
It's quicker.
How many people are we talking about?
6, 7 years probably after.
We get several from county as well, not just city.
Yeah, not just-
That I understand, not the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, I wouldn't want the water out of your fire
I
trucks.
wouldn't either.
Well, so I actually added a little disclaimer there.
That's a disclaimer there, unless
Yeah.
you've seen it or not.
Centerpoint didn't have that, and I was like, because that was our other thing, I know that was when we had
Or you
Councilor
just dump
Benson.
out of the back, it'd be fine. You reach a pool, or you get some backyard sometimes.
Right.
Is there a range we're not gonna go, or is there a limit?
Are there any place where you'd have to drive through somebody's lawn?
We'd put hose, electric driveway for the pool.
Well, if it's I have a 24-foot pool, round pool, and that's 13,000 gallons. How many trips will that take you?
Well, that's the reason I was wondering about, it's $250 for the first fill up and only $25 for the second. But if we're doing multiple trips, I don't know if the 25 is gonna cover the gas it's gonna take there.
So to be fair, we took this straight from what Centerpoint's doing today.
Yeah.
So we definitely have room to maneuver.
So
We don't have
the
any,
Alburnett, put their swimming pool if you want to.
Yeah.
I've referred to several people that call Centerpoint because we don't know.
we don't have any outstanding requests right now.
No.
We're just trying to get ahead of this
I
for
was-
next year's
for
swimming
next year.
season,
Mhm.
so.
Well, how many gallons in a pool?
Mine's got 13,000.
So take us 13 trips.
If it's empty, but like I only drain it down.
For
Foot and a half, I don't know.
$250? Yeah, I understand the pumps need to be run and the equipment needs to be exercised, but, you know, how far are you gonna run on this thing too?
We
A
decide
lot of
rate.
it's just PR.
I mean,
Get out
there's
there.
things to think about, yeah. And DR could be one of them.
If it's in town and the hydrant's close, use the fire.
Yeah,
It's all charged.
can we just limit it to the actual township? To Otter Creek? Is that just the boundaries of that township, or is that?
I think that'd be totally reasonable because that's within our fire district.
Yeah.
Right.
Why do we wanna run to Ryan and do this?
Exactly.
Well, it'd be just our fire district.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, was that specified here?
I don't think so. We can add that.
And if you guys wanna, I met with her last Friday and I brought it up and put it on for next year. I mean, and most people already have pools.
Right.
I think we need to know what it's gonna be.
Well,
It says to the fire department.
yeah,
The
Well, unless-
city will collect it and it'll just be earmarked for fire department use. So like
Oh,
a
that's
truck,
down on the bullet point down the bottom.
so like a truck fund or, there's one to a
That's
truck
what I'm-
fund
That's what
or
I'm
a,
saying, to a specific.
or a building fund. We already have a building. Our next big
I would
need
go
is a
with the
truck.
fund, yeah. Put it in the truck fund, we would use
Yeah.
it, that way it's going specifically to it.
And it helps with the truck fund, I mean,
Should,
maybe we won't fill any.
I was
you know,
gonna
who
say,
knows, but
would it be better to base it per trip?
What's the approximate cost, say, for X number? For like fill your pool?
When I filled it this spring, our bill was probably $45 higher, and that's not from empty though.
I
That,
understand that.
it's $45 more than a normal bill.
well, basically, well, if we charge, you and I fill our pool, it costs me $6 per 1,000 gallons. So you're under $50. It's-
But we gotta base the sewer on it. Because you can't separate it.
Yeah,
There was some talk once about, for houses in town, of making a meter
yeah.
so you could put it in, you'd come and check it out from City Hall and you run your hose and then you didn't have to pay the sewer bill on it. But when you think about that, even if that pool was empty at $6 a thousand, 13,000 gallons, you know,
You're gonna
you're
spend
talking
way
about
more
a
on
$100
chlorine.
bill.
Yeah.
And you're gonna save, what, 30 or 35 of that if you don't pay the sewer on it? I mean, I get it for out in the township, I totally get it there,
Right.
people trying to run their well and,
Right.
but I also get the PR part of it too, if they want their pool filled right now and they want that fire truck showing up at their house, I get that too.
And they get a calendar.
If they got the money, who cares?
I mean, I've seen the question come up several times on Facebook. They handle it really well. Essentially have to decline and tell them to go to Centerpoint. I think it's worth considering. I would just ask at this point, council, review this, give it some thought, come back with any adjustments, changes, further questions. It is definitely not anything we need a decision on tonight. Is that fair? All right. 15G, donation agreement between the City of Alburnett, Otter Creek Alburnett Firefighter Association, and the Otter Creek Township. So this is something I had Danielle start before she left. We worked with the lawyer. It's come out of a couple of things. Not even primarily in our department, but in reading the news, there have been fire departments that are having issues with their relations with the city and who owns the assets, and it's a whole thing. We've also had some question with the new station because the association provided all the furnishings, you know, who owns it, who maintains it, who replaces it when it breaks, so on and so forth. Essentially, all this agreement does, it'd have to be signed by all three parties, and it just says if you make a donation, we then take ownership, we maintain, we insure, those types of things. It also gives us the right to then do what we, as the city, please with those assets, with the caveat that the funds go back to the fire department. So, should the township come in and want to donate something we don't want, we can either decline it and or accept it and then repurpose that asset and use the funding. So that's all that's adhered to in this agreement. I've already talked to Steve about it. I think it's really good for all three parties to know how we're gonna handle things. I mean, the sign out front's a great example. The flagpoles, those are being donated from the association.
That was a question a while ago.
Well,
Danielle had, well, you bought the TVs, why are we responsible for them?
Yeah, that's the primary
Bought
one.
them and donated, I mean, this is, states that you guys get.
yeah, I read this, I wondered, what's going on? But since you explained it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It'll take all those questions off the table.
It just makes it official. And I don't want to say anything bad's gonna happen, but there was a small town near us in the news recently that their fire department's ready to walk away, and my first question was, yeah, but who owns all the stuff, So they have an association, and this just really helps all sides understand where things fall. If the association should disband, it's not, oh, I get this chair and I get this table. Nope, that was all donated to the city, it's in black and white. This is retroactive, so this will cover any donations previously made as well. Everyone, again, this is not pressing by any means, there's nothing pushing this other than we have just seen some things and I'd rather have all of us covered. So if you haven't had a chance to review, I'm happy to wait until next meeting. We can add this to whole business, take a chance to read through it. I've also not talked to the township yet, so that would be, after I get your opinions, that would be next step.
I see, I think it's a great idea.
Legal.
It covers everybody.
Yeah, this came from our lawyer as well. I didn't make
That's
this up.
that's all the whereas, yeah.
Yes, I did not make this up.
And I wouldn't anticipate the township to have any problem with this, but like you say, talk to them. I think I'd be more ready to vote on this next month if we get their input and their
Make sure
side.
they're aware of what's going on.
Right.
And I also mentioned to Steve I'll go to an association meeting as well, which I believe I just missed one, so you'll have to let me know on the next one.
Sounds good. Yep, we do.
Those are quarterly. Alright, so yeah, I ask you to please review that, let me know if you see anything. Again, that did come from our lawyer, so it should be pretty comprehensive. Alright, that is item G. Item H, okay, Board of Adjustment stuff is in the middle here, so flip past that. Alright, we're on to item H, which is the Blinn County ARPA funding request, City Hall project due July 15th. Please recognize that is tomorrow by noon. I will recognize Clerk.
So currently, right now, this ARPA can be used for updating areas so they're more COVID compliant and address some of those issues that you would have after the COVID epidemic. One of the things we looked at is putting the new the new city hall over at the building we already own at the old firehouse, and basically doing that. The cost then would then become part of this ARPA subsidy if we would go apply for it, with the idea that because we're putting in a glass that's going to separate me from the public, we're protecting the public. We're also going to have one entry point door, and then we'll also have drop spots for both the library books and water meters, so that it's not out on a separate post. So these are things that can all be put into that ARPA recommendation. Basically, all I need from you all, because I've already started typing it up, is the approval to send it.
So I'm gonna pile on a little bit. So if you remember, the county we got funding. I did find it, it's $104,000. We got $104,000 worth of ARPA funding. The county got like 40 odd million, and they made the commitment to give that back to local jurisdictions as well, some of their funding. So this is the second round of applications. The first round we did put in for water meters at like 55,000, and we did not receive any grant funding from that. I do know several other areas or cities near us, Walker and Fairfax, both received over $1 million each for the projects that they applied for. Those were infrastructure related. So
we're asking for 10% over the cost of what we've been quoted for any contingency issues.
So I did put it to staff and say, hey, how can we use this funding? We definitely need it. I think City Hall is a great example of building a space on top of, we rent the current space, so we can't make any of those changes. We can't put in a different entry. We can't make those adjustments. So that is where this is coming from. And so with that, we do also have a quote in here you'll see it from Flannery Enterprises. So this is the most recent quote. We had a previous quote from Brett Houts. I am going to recognize Brett's quote was about half of this one. However, Mr. Flannery's quote is extremely thorough and has many considerations that were not in Brett's original quote. And I really feel like this is more in the ballpark of where we need to be as far as a commercial entrance, putting a beam in to remove. There are 2 center posts in the old fire station for support, which would just really limit how we can use that space. So this accommodates for all of that, including and then on top of that, any utility upgrades, so HVAC, electrical, those types of things that need to happen.
I've tried to read, I've obviously looked over HVAC in here several times. Tell me where it is.
It says something.
I could have easily overlooked it, it's kind of small print, but I ain't one looking for.
Maybe HVAC is not called out, electrical is for sure.
Right, yep.
I was there and met with him with his HVAC guy, so it's definitely
But it's not stated.
been hammered.
Do you want me to make sure that that's added?
Well, we can in the morning, but we still have to proceed with this. I know that.
Because I had a conversation with you, Guy, where Tom's plan is to have the office space on its own
Right.
furnace.
Guy and I talked about that too.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for, and I don't see it here.
We will verify. That's all we can do. As I read through it, I was gone until this afternoon, so this came in while I was gone. I scanned it, to be perfectly honest with you. So all I can do is verify with Tom that it is included in that bid, even though not stated. He did email me late this afternoon, wanted to make sure that you knew that this quote was meant to be fully in compliance with all building codes, and that the fees and permits for those inspections were included in this bid. So
Yeah, let's just get a quick confirmation. I mean, given this price, I expect it to be included.
And is that south wall, do we think that's insulated? Because I see there's no cost being included for that.
the south,
It says no cost for replacing installation or adding it to the south wall or to the ceiling is included in the assessment. So is it there?
yeah,
I
it's there,
think.
it's
Okay,
insulated,
so we're
oh,
good.
yeah.
He said he could see, there's a hole in the south wall, and he could see into.
And it mentions floor leveling in here, is that just right around a drain?
Yeah.
So, 6 foot diameter would probably take care of that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then he had, Tom is the only one that caught, well, he met with Blinn County Building, so he caught the fact that we will need a firewall, because we would maintain
Right.
the 2 garage bays on the north side of the building. We need a firewall between that and the occupied space. So he's got plans in there for that firewall.
I will say I seen guy in the flooding that was up there one day and stuff. Go to the electrical acme.
Yeah.
I think he had an acme. I was very impressed with it. We looked at all the stuff they were catching. Really sort of quite more. We can get money.
And again, there's no guarantee in what we're doing. This is just a pitch to try to get the money, because if we get it, then we can move monies into something else.
So do we need an approved quote? I mean,
So, what I have here is, it's requested ARPA funding amount, which I've requested $241,450. That's 10% over the quote, which is $219,500. My thoughts are, since that's already 10% over, even if we had to do payback, we could probably still use some of the money we were originally putting aside to do any contingencies if we needed to. So we're still not at a loss, we're still at a huge advantage.
but we don't have to approve this tonight in order to submit the ARPA. We can go based off of a proposal and
We can go based off a proposal, I just, I just need the approval that I can send this as is.
And I gave Brett the opportunity to freshen up his quote over a week ago. I told him that we were gonna consider this tonight, and do you need to freshen up your quote? And he said, yeah, I probably should, and then I haven't seen anything or heard from him, so I don't know exactly what that means, if he forgot, or didn't intend to, or what, I don't know, so.
As long as I have it submitted by noon tomorrow, we're good. Guy and I will finish it up tomorrow morning.
So action tonight, I'm looking for approval to submit this as our ARPA request. We could look at other, I mean, can't really look at other things because it's due tomorrow, but, infrastructure is the other thing that applies, so water, sewer, cannot be streets, they're very clear on that.
That's why it was a problem for us, because we don't have any looming infrastructure projects that we can even get a reasonable proposal on that don't include streets, even if we chose to put in a block worth of new water main, and it'd be silly to do that without replacing the old street that is half underneath, so that's what caused the stumbling block. That's why this fits the first line of the requirement. How do you mitigate COVID in the future, or COVID-like problems?
Even if we don't get it all, we get partial.
And that's the thing, we could say we got part, I mean,
I think we ought to go for it. I make a motion that we apply for the ARPA funding
City Hall project.
for the city hall projects.
Motion by Shantz, second by Bozenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. Oh, we're still in new business. Holy cow. Blinn County Economic Development. So this is another grant opportunity. This one is due on July 28th. Has some different requirements, and so the considerations. We want to apply, and so the two things we currently have in flight that would qualify would be our park or the medical truck. We both apply to that. We do have a little bit more time to get that application in. I will say, right now, we don't have solid plans for a park. We've got some ideas. So if that's the item that we choose to pursue for this particular grant, I would ask for approval for Chris and I to work together on that proposal. Because we don't have time to come back and get everyone together on a plan in order to get that put in. If we go towards the medical truck, I'd look for what your committee has found to point, to start looking at just the funding amount. So.
I think
They've thrown around a few.
Honestly, I'd go for a park.
Okay.
I mean,
That might qualify for this. This is the firefighter's grant
yeah,
anyway.
so this
You're
town
trying-
don't have a park. We have a medical truck. I mean, it's still good. I mean, I
I'll
would
make
go.
it a fun park.
I
We
mean,
have the
fire
chance
trucks
to
need,
review that survey.
for a lot cheaper.
What came out
Yeah.
as more popular
Right.
options.
I did not, so the question was if I got a chance to go back and look at the survey. If I remember correctly, it was surprisingly pretty basic things. The pavilions, bathrooms, drinking fountains. We already had planned the walking trail, but we had that on there. I would like to see some kind of court, whether it be tennis, pickleball, basketball, some kind of playing surface, just because children can get creative with that. And then I do remember the inclusive playground. So that is one thing, as much as we've got various playgrounds, both of them are elevated, and that concerns me. There's nothing that's really inclusive of children with disabilities, or in my child's case, fear of heights. So there's that.
So you're talking playgrounds that are only.
They generally ramp up. They still have elevated features, but they ramp up so that they can at least use part of it versus, having to climb a ladder or stairs to get there.
So
Inclusive swing
Ramps.
sets, yeah, a lot of times the swings are more hammock-like versus being your standard have to sit on and hold on to chains.
Okay.
So there's a lot of examples of
With
it.
the court question, so with that easement, as far as how far over we can go, is that just for what we build, or is it, like, could a court go there since it's just concrete and?
Oh, you mean on the west side of the?
Yeah.
No, that's not, we don't
So
own
we
that
can't
property.
touch any of that,
Absolutely
okay,
not.
never mind, just want clarification on that.
We were hoping to see some action on possible more development in that area, but that's fallen apart to my knowledge, so. Yeah, so that's just not an issue at this point.
And again, I would set it up with future expansion in mind. I mean, should another street go in, odds of putting houses right behind that well house are unlikely. We would request that be added to the park at that point, those types of things. So do it with expansion in mind.
And maybe once the regulations of that grant are read, it would be, we'll know right away. Maybe we just get a hard number on a pickleball court, or we get a hard number on the pavilion and say, this is the piece we're asking for, because that's a yearly grant. So maybe,
Oh, it is?
maybe we can go back and get another portion of it down the road.
Yep. And so it's purely, I mean, this is driven towards economic development, so, and community development. So also to Steve's point, and I appreciate your selflessness, I do feel like a park fits better because it can be utilized by everyone. Not that our fire department isn't an available service to everyone, no one hopes they have to utilize it, so.
I just would say, I'm kind of mad at this pickleball court, because it's, I know a lot of people don't know, and I know it come in low on the survey, but the basketball court come in higher. But if you look at it, basketball court, I'm not gonna go out there because that's not sure, but pickleball court, I'd probably go out and play, probably I would go out and play. And I have an article, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, it was in the Cedar Rapids Gazette. I kept it, and they explained everything about pickleball and everything. And I'm gonna bring it up to City Hall and let you guys look at it, so you guys get familiar with it. You know, you did a video with it, and it didn't really take very well. But, and not doing that, but, I know, I just met with some people in St. Louis, and they're making tournaments all over the country with this. And there are associations with pickleball where they'll come out and actually, you can set up a time when people want to learn about it, they'll come out and show people and talk to people about it. So that's a pickleball association, or whatever it is. But I have some connections maybe to get into that direction, because they're almost.
I just heard Dave's starting a league, so that's what I heard. If we give him a court, he'll start a
You
league.
better believe it.
If you build it.
He can just
Yeah.
and they'll use it once people. It's the fastest, one of the fastest growing sports there is right now.
So in this application, would you go with one factor like pavilion or multiple factors?
We would be applying for, they're asking for what would be similar to the ARPA, what would be the overall cost that you're looking for, and then a breakdown of the items.
Okay,
So we can pile on as much as we want, whether they give us everything, if it's not
okay.
specific.
I would want to be realistic with things that we can fit there
Right.
and get done now, so I want to be conscientious of the
Within,
space.
say, 12 months or 18 months,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things in that particular one is that they do follow up to see whether or not we've actually
Right.
accomplished our milestones.
Just a real quick jump back to the previous option, Tom just got back to me, the HVAC is included, it just isn't specifically
Isn't detailed out.
line itemed, so yeah, it's in there.
Look at him, Johnny on the spot. Yeah, right, log that. So I guess on item I was looking for consensus on what we should apply for. It sounds like park, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. And then I would just seek approval for Chris and I to work together on that application.
So moved.
Moved by Schutz,
Second.
second by Trum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries.
You need me to fix it.
Nope. Thank you, sir. Have a great
Thanks,
night.
Steve.
See ya.
You overstayed your welcome.
I'm trying to figure out what this is.
Yeah, what is this?
Let me see.
Is that
Insurance?
insurance? That's for Giddy's.
Oh, yeah, that was
It's-
for
it's
his
just
alcohol permit.
His alcohol permit, we've already
Bernie Septic Services?
Oh, no.
Oh, wait, is that something else?
Yeah, that's it. They just, some of these companies that do work in town send us a certification of liability form every so often, so we don't need to take any action on it, sorry, no.
Thanks,
Him
Francis.
reading that fine print, I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
See, that's what I was talking about.
The fine print?
Yeah,
I try to put as much of it as I possibly can.
you're good at it.
All right, item J, request to pursue tablets for council meetings. I don't like paper, so this has been something I had started talking to Danielle about. We've got Town Cloud, that's how I actually can read most of it on my phone if I'm out and about, which I tend to be. Chris is still getting versed in Town Cloud, so that's something that was not a super high priority first 30 days. We'll get him there. So the intention with this is rather than physical packets, we would each be set up with either a tablet or a Chromebook or something relatively simple at our station. Everything preloaded, ready to go as you walk in for the meeting. There's no expectation that you'd have to come in and funnel for it or find it in your email or anything like that. We'd have them all set up and ready to go. And it's gonna help eliminate a lot of, I know frankly, I come back and drop these right back in the recycle bin. That's unfortunate, so it may be we print, you know, the agenda and a handful of things, but all the supporting stuff can then stay digital, so.
Who's gonna train me?
I'll train
None
you.
whatsoever, all you gotta do is read what's on there.
I'll train you.
The creeds and archives, they go back a long time.
That's one of the nicer things about it, is that it will, I mean, you can go back and look at future, or past.
Right.
meetings.
And what's nice, I would think would be nice about that, we've got the clerk's comments, all those comments, it's not like just trying to look up the meeting minutes later on, which that covers the basics, but there's a lot of detail that you're gonna look. I mean, if we can retain those details, that's what we want.
And it can be a lot easier to organize than this.
Yeah, then we don't end up with just random things slid in there, because we don't know what it
Like,
So, just looking for interest. So I do know we're hoping, I think, to reach out to the school and see, they've got, I can't even imagine how many Chromebooks, and I don't know how often they turn them over. We don't need anything super special, it'll just be once a month for council meetings, so kind of see where they're at with their cycle of replacing Chromebooks, if there's anything in good order that we could repurpose on their behalf. We don't know, we've not explored that yet, but otherwise, I mean, we can look at cost for tablets or a lightweight laptop, if it's something the council's definitely interested in. Okay, sounds like we'll move that on to old business for next month then. Appreciate the Speaking of old business, guess where we are now? First item is ordinance violation at 239 North Main Avenue. So at the last meeting, and we do have the property owner here, and I'd look for an update there. At the last meeting, we did discuss reaching out to the lawyer, see if there's anything we can do to just really shore up the process, make things more streamlined for us going forward. If this is something that we have to continue to deal with, I've not heard back from him. So I do have an email. I'll own my outcomes. I didn't send it till about a week ago, and he's pretty slow to respond, so I didn't plan well for getting that back in time for this meeting. But while we have the property owner, I'd be happy to hear how things are going and.
Well, thanks to the son-in-law and the daughter, we got both properties pretty well picked up. Then I got a letter for junk vehicles at 239. And is it the old Ford pickup, the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
I got the sticker on it today.
Oh, okay,
So,
alright,
and it's licensed and insured.
okay, so it does all move and.
Oh, yeah.
Operable.
Yeah, everything up there moves and runs. Yeah.
So it sounds like we need to reassess and see if there's anything else we need to do there, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
So thank you. Appreciate you getting work done there.
Appreciate you coming.
Anyone else have questions on that one?
I do have a question.
Yes.
With that property maintenance that they were talking about, tie into this situation?
No. So property maintenance is more, which we do have a few in town I can think of, but like your roof doesn't look like it's actually shedding water, or it can,
Your grass is 18 inches deep and.
yeah,
We have windows
grass
out of
mowing
your
would be,
Okay.
yes, broken windows, so that, it's more structure building. That's nuisance in the nuisance and junk vehicles ordinance, so yeah,
So
they
those
wouldn't
are
touch
items
that.
on the property, but not
Not
the
property
grounds
maintenance.
or the
Yep.
structure.
Precisely. Property maintenance is very specific if you read the ordinance. Good question though. No, that's still ours to deal with. But again, we're looking at, think if we can get a municipal infraction. It's my understanding through Danielle, I believe we talked to the lawyer, but if we get a municipal infraction, we can essentially have him sign something to say that he'll comply in the future, and then if he doesn't, we don't have to go through all these hoops. We can just debate, charge him, and we're done, because he's signed off with the court that it wouldn't happen again. So that's where we're looking for that. Anything else on 16A? All right. 16B was an accident. I asked Chris to leave it on there rather than make another amendment. We're just going to bypass it. So that was our resolution for the wages, and he left it on there as a note to himself that it was all set up in the system and good to go. So no action. We're skipping past B. Yes. We almost took it off.
It's my
but
first time. I'm
Yes.
trying hard here.
we almost took it off,
Doing
but I was
great.
like, oh, one more amendment, and I don't like to remove things. I'd rather just explain it, and we'll move past it. So that was that one. Okay, 16C is the second reading of Ordinance 2022-1, which is amendment to the water rate, Chapter 65632. That you do have in your packet. I read it last time. I don't feel the need to read it again. It's been available in City Hall for the last 30 days that if anyone wanted access to it. So for tonight, open to any discussion. Again, I feel like we've talked about this one before, so then I would look for motion to approve the second reading.
So
Moved by Myers. Well, it's three motions, so, yeah. Second by Bosenberg. Any further discussion on ordinance 2022-1? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries for the second reading. Now, I would seek a motion to suspend the rule requiring that an ordinance be voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be passed, with respect to ordinance number 2022-1. Essentially, motion to approve suspension of the third reading. moved by Trump, second by Rosenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Third motion, I would seek a motion to approve the final reading, passage, and adoption with respect to ordinance number 2022-1. Moved by Rosenberg, second by Trump. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. New water rates will take effect August 1st. That's it, friends.
Yeah.
Yes,
August,
now,
let's see.
now we will hear. All right,
Second Thursday of August will be in.
item 17, final comments and discussion. I'll start to my right with Councilor Trump.
Nothing.
Mr. Rosenberg, Councilor Schultz, Mr. Myers.
Great job, Chris. And, as a point of order, I will not be here for next month's meeting, so all the pitchforks, torches for the water increase.
Thanks for the heads up. We'll be sure to publish your address and phone number. So.
Protest that for your house.
Speaking of fire department.
All right.
I do have
Oh,
one-
I was gonna say, let me go to staff. Any final comments or concerns?
I do not.
I finally got around to working on selling the Skag mower. I decided to put it on Gov Deals just because things have been so frantic, and it sold the other day for $2,225, a little less than what we were hoping to get out of it, but I'll arrange for pickup here in the next day or two, so. But, yeah. Just thought I'd lay that out there, let you know. I forgot to put that in my report earlier.
Ms. Golding, you're the only one left. Anything else to add?
One of the things, I'm a landlord, so I have the Cedar Rapids situation. I think that what they do is very good. There are lots of landlords that are shoddy. They, I've heard lots of horror stories. So I think that that's probably a really good idea. Having dealt with inspections and inspectors, and they generally, the Cedar Rapids people have been very easy to work with if you are a decent landlord and have decent properties. And so it gives you guys a little bit more, when I was a coach up here, there were some families that lived in some pretty rundown houses, and it just broke my heart to go visit them at home. So I think it's a good idea.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
What's your thoughts on the wind farms and solar panel farms?
I am 100% in favor of solar on rooftops.
I
There
see
are
my
lots of
neighbor
rooftops.
cleaning his the other night.
Pardon?
Saw my neighbor cleaning his.
Yeah.
If you don't keep him clean.
Well, I'll share a story. I have a Tesla, and Tesla goes out and you can buy a Tesla roof. Well, our sun efficacy was not, they said that the return on investment wasn't there, so they didn't recommend it for our latitude in Iowa, because the return to charge just my car, they said it wouldn't be a good idea. So that's what Tesla told us, and I trust them. So I have some questions about how all the efficiencies that they say we're going to get per kilowatt hours. I have some questions whether that's real or projections, computer projections like a lot of the other computer projections that don't materialize. And we make a lot of decisions based on these projections that, oh, well, we missed it. So I'd like to see a lot more data, because there are solar fields in Wisconsin, and we have some down by Muscatine, and there's some out west, and I'd like to really see the return on investment on those before we cover up a lot of farm ground. Because there are enough fields out there now to really analyze that return on investment.
With real world data.
Yeah, with real world, not just computer you know, maybe we're gonna get this. And as we talk about jobs, you put solar panels on rooftops, our electricians will have a lot of work. We'll have a lot of union jobs when it comes to electricians and installers and everything, if we put it on existing rooftops.
Use a footprint that's already there.
So that's what but I'm waiting to see the data.
Hey, I got a question on this. I've seen, okay, gas is this much, and what it costs me per mile to deal with, costs. But I never see anything what it costs per mile for
Let me show you.
I've never seen anything. I know it's something like charging citizens 6 cents a kilowatt or something.
Okay.
I can show you this.
Yeah, we can
Afterwards.
afterwards.
It's right here on the app.
Yes, I would seek a motion to adjourn. Motion by
Sorry,
Trump,
Chris.
second by Bosenberg. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So I never see anything